without further ado, the moments you've all been waiting for. Sorry I had to get that stuff out of the way quickly, but I had an interview with certain somebody who's a Twitter legend, a social media legend. His YouTube is gaining traction like crazy. He's on his 20th Twitter account. He has probably trolled you before, and now you're happy that you were because you found the guy. He's also one of the most polarizing social media figures. Here is my interview with Sports Talk Barry McCockiner, Ultra Weed Hater, right now. It is my pleasure to welcome a very special and pretty well-known guest, Barry McCockiner from Twitter. What is up, dude?
How you doing, man? Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. I'm doing well myself. I'm going to have 6 questions for you, Barry. And Barry has made sure that we're not going to talk about Tom Brady, although that is his thing that he uses.
Yep.
Question 1. So, when did you realize that sports takes were your goal? Have you always wanted to be an analyst, or did you kind of notice your people like your stuff, and so you ran with it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've always been a sports fan, and I think that using a combination of my sports knowledge and I guess just my unique, if we can call it that, sense of humor, I think it's a good fit. It's really no effort for me. I enjoy it. I enjoy talking about sports. I enjoy tweeting stats and things like that. And so Twitter's given me a great platform to do that, and thankfully I've been able to grow my following on these platforms and really get to kind of do something that I enjoy doing for most of the time.
That's pretty awesome. And I will have to say, as a fanboy moment here, you do have pretty good stats and jokes on your Twitter page, I have to admit. And right now, it's Ultra Weed Hater, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to jump right into sports now. Who is your favorite athlete of all time and why?
He's my favorite athlete of all time. Well, when I was growing up, it was Donovan McNabb was my
really
favorite. Because I just as a kid, I always, when I was really little, I thought that most of the NFL teams, they used to run the ball a lot, and I kind of thought that was boring. And so, the Eagles at the time were, under Andy Reid, they were one of the few teams I think that liked to throw the ball a lot. And so, McNabb was the quarterback at the time, and so I guess I just started rooting for Philly, and McNabb became my favorite player because of that. But as I got older, I don't know. I mean, I really, I'm a LeBron guy. I probably, if push came to shove, I'd probably say LeBron's my favorite, and I know that that's probably, I understand he's a pretty polarizing guy, but I think, I just remember being, I don't think I've ever been happier for an athlete winning a title than I was when LeBron finally broke through. And I guess some of that has to do with the where you are in your life and the time of your life. And I remember some personal things and his the 3-1 comeback versus Golden State in 2016. Is probably, or at least it's in the discussion for the greatest title ever won in sports, in major sports at least.
Yeah.
And that came just a few months after I lost my dad. And I think that happened on Father's Day, the Game 7. So, I've always been a big LeBron guy, and I always root for his teams to win, even though I know that there's a lot of people who root against him to lose. So,
yeah, I think one of my biggest things I like to prove people wrong, kind of like when you did your Kawhi video when the Clippers lost. That was pretty cool. But
yeah, that was nice.
I didn't expect Donovan McNabb. I expect you to say LeBron James, but I appreciate the personal story there as well. I know that takes a lot of man to say that kind of stuff.
Well,
Question. What?
no, go ahead. You're good.
No, I was just gonna ask the next question. What you got to say?
No, I didn't. I didn't have to say anything. You can go on.
Gotcha. So, which quarterback in this year's draft class, I know you're big on quarterbacks, do you see from this year's draft blossoming like Patrick Mahomes in terms of like being some dynamic jersey selling athlete, or do you think there's any at all?
Well, when I look at, I'm not a. I'll be upfront. I mean, I'm not a draft expert. I'm not like one of these. There's a whole industry that's devoted to this, and guys who spend year round, looking and scouting all these guys. And I'm not one of those guys, but just from the naked eye and from what I have seen and what I have watched of the quarterbacks, I mean, I think Patrick Mahomes is he's a rarity. It's kind of like it's similar to a LeBron in basketball. I mean, that type of player comes around once a lifetime. I mean, so it's I wouldn't say that there's anybody who's going to become the next Patrick Mahomes in this draft. But I do think that obviously Trevor Lawrence is expected to have the best career.
Right.
That's why he was the shoo-in first overall pick. Really, I mean, he's been the presumed first overall pick since he came out of high school. So, I think Lawrence is a guy who I don't see him. Of course, barring injuries for all these guys, I just don't see him. I don't see a way for him to fail just because he seems to have everything you could want. He doesn't have a rocket arm, but he's a great athlete, and he has the height and size and the prototypical size that you would like, and he seems like a good guy with his head on straight. And so I think Trevor Lawrence, I mean, if there was going to be anybody who came closest to being the next Patrick Mahomes or being the next superstar that sells a lot of jerseys, I think it would obviously be Trevor Lawrence. But I think I really like. I'm not really high on Zach Wilson. I wasn't very high on Justin Fields. I think Trey Lance is a risky pick, but I think that Kyle Shanahan always seems to make his quarterbacks' lives easier. So I think Trey Lance had a lot of red flags. I mean, I think he only threw a little over 300 passes in college against division against FCS competition. So that's a big risk, but. Something tells me he'll be fine. I really like. I like Mac Jones to the Patriots. I think Mac Jones is going to have a solid career. I think he'll be like a Kirk Cousins type of guy. Not an elite quarterback, but a guy who is really good and just kind of is able to move the chains. And so I think if there is a surprise quarterback in this draft, I think that Mac Jones is going to be the biggest surprise.
I have to agree with you on the Trey Lance and definitely Trevor Lawrence, but you've said on your Class Act podcast, and it's a great line, generational talent just doesn't grow on trees. And that's kind of ringed in my head when I look at these guys, like, and not everybody's going to be super good. So It was a good point by you. Question 4, this is like the last big time sports point. Let's say this year's NBA, let's say Kevin Durant wins a title with Brooklyn. Would it have helped his legacy? I know, like, me and you were kind of the same, but we believe Kevin Durant screwed his legacy when he joined Golden State. Would it have helped his legacy if, let's say, he did not add James Harden and win it, but he won it just with Kyrie?
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, if it was just him and Kyrie who won, if they won a title with just him and Kyrie, of course it would help his legacy. I think that it's disappointing that he felt the need to go and recruit another superstar like Harden, because I think to me if he wanted to if he wanted to just win rings, keep winning rings that nobody cared about on stacked teams, and he could have just stayed in Golden State. So it's disappointing that he came to the conclusion that he needed to recruit Harden in addition to Kyrie, and then there's Blake Griffin on the side and things like that. And the Nets have obviously a very, very stacked team, and in terms of talent, they should win the title. But yeah, I mean, of course, if Durant had been able to win a title with just Kyrie, it certainly would have done wonders for his legacy.
I'm of the same mindset. To me, it was like the Buccaneers adding Leonard Fournette and Antonio Brown. Like, what is the point of this stuff? It doesn't make any sense. So the last two, are I thought of these questions because I want to know which of, first of all, these sports would you consider watching more of, UFC, hockey, or something else like, let's say, rugby or lacrosse or NASCAR.
Well, I think, I watch some playoff hockey, and to me, it can be entertaining. So I think of the sports you listed, I'd probably say hockey. I feel like, regular season hockey, I'm not really big on, but I'll watch some playoff hockey. So I think that, if I had to choose between another sport that I don't usually watch, but that hockey would definitely be one that I'd be willing to add of the choices that you gave.
And I'll be honest, recently I live in Georgia, so it's kind of hard to, but I could see you making a lot of hockey fans pretty mad. So that would be, if there does come a time when you watch hockey, I would not be surprised. Last question. Do you have a dream scenario with your career, and does it involve this addiction help hotline, Barry McCockiner?
Well, I think the end goal is to obviously be able to make a living off of giving opinions and things like that related to sports with my humor. I think that what I really do, what I've started to put a lot more time and effort into, in more recently, I should say, is I've really started to build up my YouTube channel, and that's kind of the way I look at it. Is because, I mean, if I hadn't been suspended so many times on Twitter, I'd be approaching 1 million followers by now.
Yep.
So I realized that because my footing on Twitter is unstable, that I need to have some insurance, I guess, if you want to call it that. And so I've really put a lot of time and effort into making new videos for my YouTube channel, and so even regardless of what happens, regardless of what happens to my Twitter accounts in the future, I'll always have my YouTube channel to fall back on. And right now, I love making content for my fans on YouTube, and it seems to it's really starting to kind of grow. I've got over 35,000 subscribers. So I get, the hope, I guess, in the end goal is to, not get suspended on Twitter.
Yeah.
And grow my YouTube channel to where I can make a lot of money off of that, in addition to maybe getting a bigger platform for Twitter, where I can kind of be where I was a few years ago with my Sports Talk Barry account, where I'm well known, and maybe down the line, maybe start my own website. Who knows? I mean, but being able to make money and make a living off of, and I know people who do this, so I think that's what being able to make money and make a living off of talking about sports and using my humor and having a massive following. I think that's going to be my end goal. But at the end of the day, I think that, and it sounds corny, but it's true. I really enjoy making people's lives or their days better any way that I can with my ridiculously stupid humor. So, the money's great, obviously, but when somebody tells me, hey, I saw your Twitter, your Twitter account is great, it makes my day better, or I watched your YouTube channel, I saw your recent video and it was really great, that shit makes you feel good. So, I hope, again, I hope in the long run to be able to make, and I'm already making a decent amount of money off of YouTube, so I can't imagine what's going to happen in a few years when, I have several 100,000 subscribers, because I know that's what's going to happen. I'm pretty confident in my ability to produce content.
Hey, your Eli Manning video, I highly recommend it. Just watch that one. And I appreciate your time. Maybe one day you'll get to meet this doctor behind this image. That'd be kind of cool too.
That would be cool. That do a lot of numbers.
All right, Barry. Appreciate you, and thank you so much. And listen to the Class Act podcast. Subscribe to his YouTube, please.
Oh man.